Good day, Keith.
Good evening, everybody.
I got a quick question for you. You know, you told me before a couple of weeks ago we was going to do some document that we would attach to the warranty deed, and we would do that for the birth certificate, cars, you know, all of these things, and claim it where they can't claim it.
Right.
Okay, can we put that on a fast track and do that really quick?
Basically, what you're going to do is if you want to get that warranty deed, you're going to put a stamp on the top right-hand corner. I would just use a 2-cent stamp. You're going to sign it and date it. You're going to sign it and date it on the right-hand side on the bottom. You're going to flip it over. You're going to put a stamp on the bottom and same another stamp on the right-hand corner on the bottom, sign and date it. On the back, you write your terms and agreements. You write your entry notice, whatever it is you're going to use in regards to entering that document as a claim.
What's the verbiage I'd want it to use?
I posted a post in Lawful Living using language that came from like the early 1900s legal notices in regards to an entry document. And so what you would do is you would make that document, you would copy it, and you would file a copy on the record with your claim. And you know it's going to have your claim on there. Now you're going to post a notice in the paper that you've made such a claim. You're going to run it for one night a week for three weeks. When that's over, nobody's made any rebuttal to it. You make another claim or make another notice in the paper of your final judgment of claim. You post that one day a week for 3 weeks. And when it's done deal. You post your claim on the public record to that land and move forward from there to get your withdrawal. What you're wanting to do is withdraw the land from the public deed polls, which are the tax rolls.
Right.
And what they're going to do, and what you want to do is you want to get a military survey so they can come out and make that military survey and say, okay, these are the bounds you can't go inside of.
So the county would do that military survey for me?
I don't know exactly how it works yet. I haven't done it.
Okay.
The end effect is you want a military survey. I don't care who does it, as long as that document or that it comes out as a military survey.
Okay. All right. Now, will this stand up in any court? Because, you know, people have done this in the past and they take it to court and they throw it, you know, and it loses. In other words,
well, that's the problem. Again, pay attention, folks. We're not going to take this to court. We're establishing a public record that their public record is wrong in their court system. That is their public record, is their courts, and it's wrong. We're not entering into their courts. We're removing from their courts and placing the proper information, the true and correct information on the proper record, and that is the public forum.
Okay, and that's
so we're going to remove that title from probate, which is wrong, and put it in the international form by transferring that title to the Postal Service.
That's the
military operation under military surveys.
Okay, that's the key. We got to move it from their court to the postal court. Then we're good to go, aren't we? And we can duplicate that with the automobile, the driver's license, you name it, whatever. We can duplicate that one thing right there.
Yep.
Okay. Now, where can I find that document that you was talking about that I can copy?
You guys really have to pay attention here because there are so many documents I go over, and people ask me about that document I was talking about. I don't know which document you're talking about when you say that document I was talking about.
Okay.
You have to remember the names of the documents as I describe them. Otherwise, I will never be able to correlate a document.
Okay.
Everything is a document to me.
Yeah. The one that you was just talking about that was like 1909, you know, the document of
entry. I don't have a document. That's entry information that I read out of the legal notices from early 19th century.
Yeah.
Or early 1900s.
Yeah.
And
So
that's
I
where I
need,
get my verbiage.
okay. So I'm on, so I could just do the same thing. I'll just look with a Google search of early 1900s, what kind of
Yeah,
paperwork, the language that they used
well,
on.
just look for legal notices, early 1900s.
Okay. All right.
Just start
So,
going through the legal notices. You're going to find legal notices for all kinds of things. You're going to find out the verbiage is very much different.
okay. Cause see, they changed everything in the 20s and 30s, didn't they? On the
Yep.
legal notices.
Yep.
And
Okay.
that's what, and that's why you're saying go back to say pre 1910, and that ought to give us the best kind of verbiage.
Yep.
Okay. That makes sense.
All right. Tonight, again, I want to welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me. Tonight, we're going to try to put an end to all of this thing about liabilities and everything and responsibilities and obligations, and realize that it is a war of spirituality. That's why I kept tell people, get out of the inner anguish and the inner turmoil and come to peace with yourself and realize it's all mutual. It's all mutual. And to think about this, this is what I've learned out of my experience in the last 6 years. I used to think I was going to go after them. They're stupid. They're idiots. I know this. They don't. The cognitive dissonance that we've been in is a mutual cognitive dissonance. Okay. Many people, even the ones that are operating this system, I'm telling you, 8 million codes, they can't possibly know them all. So when we come across them, it's our duty, it's our obligation to bring them out and show this. This is knowledge and education. Hold harmless criteria and minimum funding level. This is 20 CFR 1001.152 employee benefits. A hold harmless rate of 90%, and it goes through and it tells you the department will update as appropriate the state's estimates of TAP workload. Oh, workload. So, employee benefits again, 20 CFR 667.135. What hold harmless provisions apply to Workforce Investment Act? If they are giving you an application to become employed, that is an investment on their part. And you are doing it as an investment on your part for compensation of those Federal Reserve notes. Their investment is in the information. It is a mutual investment. Mutual. Apply to WIA, adult and work youth allocations. Let's see. What do we got here? What was I looking at? Maybe it wasn't this one. Just showing that it involves in the Workforce Investment Act. Oh, here we go. Title 34, education. Like I said, it's about knowledge. Okay. They want information for their knowledge. Now we're going to give them some knowledge. We're going to make it mutual. Like I said, know thyself, keep your friends close and keep your enemies closer. Know thyself and know thy enemy. Have faith in your friends. Notice it starts out with general. Again, Postmaster General, Comptroller General, Director General of the International Bureau. Everything is general and not specific. This is according to your durable powers of attorney, in fact, and the assignments that you make thereunder, whether they be specific or general. LEA is a legal entity association. SEA, I don't know what it is. I think it's a secured entity association, not sure yet. persons up through age 21 who are entitled to a free public education. So why are people paying for education? Why are you paying registration fees and stuff? If it's a free public education, why are you paying registration fees? Because you're not registering for the free public education. You're registering to give them information for their statistics, for their experimentation called free public education. Get it? It's not mutual. The exchange is not mutual. They are not giving you the information to your advantage, the improving the academic achievement of the disadvantaged. That is inconsistent. They are not teaching you the advantage that they are taking over you. They are indoctrinating you through their propaganda called public education. The next one, hold harmless payment methodology. General, a hospital under a spell of illness that is indoctrinated into you through the propaganda called spelling in reading, writing, and arithmetic in public education. It has nothing to do with spelling. It has to do with comprehension. A hospital paid under the hold harmless payment methodology receives a payment per discharge based on the higher of. Per discharge. What did they discharge? Did they discharge the patient that was in a spell of illness from the first day after they received inpatient hospital services, and now they discharged them from the hospital? Payment for inpatient RPCH services to a CAH that has qualified, certified, accredited hospital or something like that as a CAH under the provisions of paragraph A of this section is made in accordance with 411370.
So is this basically like the schools or like hospitals?
Schools are taking advantage of the information that you give them upon registration. The same as the hospital is taking advantage of the information that you give upon registration.
Oh, so then they sell your information.
Yeah, they're selling your information for an education for your child. They're selling your information for that birth registration for your needing their assistance in giving birth or having going through natural labor. You don't need them.
All right.
I got a question. Do
Sure.
churches do that too? Like if they got 1,000
Well, yeah, that's okay. Comprehend.
Shit.
The first thing about identification came from the churches. There was no public registration before they came about. The churches kept registrations in family Bibles and church Bibles. However, today's churches have been converted to commercial churches, and their registrations are in mutual agreement with the social agreement.
And they can be converted to securities?
Yes.
I'll be damned.
That's why you got I think they give you a tax report for your tithes every year.
Yep.
They're writing off on your tax.
Yeah, but they're under reporting then. If they're only reporting your tithes.
Yep. The final determination,
A lot more.
what I've been talking about, final judgment of the amount payable under paragraph A of this section is based on final settlement of the Medicare cost report. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to make a final settlement on the Medicare cost report. It's done. We're not going to deal with your insurance anymore. Bonafide donations. Bonafide donation means a provider-related donation. When you go to the hospital and the hospital is a provider, and you donate that information instead of selling it, they take it as a donation.
$5.
And now they can sell it.
Well, how would you negotiate that?
Huh?
You sign here. How much you gonna pay me?
Well, this is why I talk about you got to put your value on it. You've got to put your venture capital on it. And in that venture capital, you've got to clarify the contracts payable in gold terms. You got to be able to separate their monetary value system from the actual transitional credit system. Their monetary values is taking a credit portion and turning it into commercial paper. CMS will be presumed.
Basically, when they give you that, it's a negotiable instrument. You just don't know how to sign the back of it.
Correct. CMS will presume provider-related donations to be bona fide if the voluntary payments, including but not limited to gifts, contributions, presentations, or awards made by or on behalf of the individual healthcare provider to the state, county, or any other unit of local government does not exceed. So again, just what Amara just said, if we don't know how to negotiate it and put the amount on it so it doesn't exceed, then they put that amount on there. They're the ones providing the information then. They're the ones that take it as donation, bona fide donation, and put the value to it.
So they take your signature and put whatever value they want on it.
They don't take your signature and put a value on it. They take every bit of information you're giving them because you don't put a value on it. The signature doesn't matter.
Okay.
CMS stands for Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Formerly, the Healthcare Financing Administration. Administration. It is still administration. Okay. In that administration, they have a site, and it is an official website of the United States government. We're putting patients first. Well, great, because I'm not the patient. Because I'm first to begin with. You're second, and the patient is third. I'm the grantor, you're the trustee, and my patient is the beneficiary. Dummies. And I mean it, dummies. These are dummy corporations doing this shit to you.
You run by dummies.
This is the Medicare Managed Care Manual. Medicare Advantage. Application procedure and contract requirements. So let's look at their hold harmless requirement. And we will see that it has nothing to do with us because we gave a donation. Contracts must hold Medicare members harmless for payment of fees that are the legal obligation of the medical association organization to fulfill. See, they admit by their own documentation, the payments are meant as their obligation to fulfill.
Not yours.
Right. So when you get that registration form, you flip it over, you put your 50 USC 4305 to B2 on there, full acquittance and discharge. And there's your discharge. Before you even have to, before they can even require you to fill out any more documentation in regards to the birth certificate. It's already discharged. This matter is discharged. I hold everybody harmless.
Can we get that 50? Let me call it again, please.
50 USC 4305. This is the one you guys should all get very familiar with. Very simple language, and it tells us in there, no one shall be held accountable or liable in any court. This is forgiveness. This is mutual agreement. This is hold harmless. And it says, such provision will apply, but will not be limited to insolvency of the MA organization. Therefore, it can't be held liable or limited to the insolvency of myself, who is mutually agreed I have no assets either. Come take them if you can find them with my name on them. How's that? Contract breach and provider billing. If they are the provider and they are the ones billing you, guess what? It's on them to fulfill it. That utility bill, they're the ones providing the utility, right? Same thing goes. They turned around and provided you with that billing. Slap that 50 USC 4305 on there every month. Sooner or later, they might comprehend the Paperwork Reduction Act and just make it electronic book entry and say, fuck it. Contracts must contain, because every time they send you a billing statement, it is another offer to contract. Every time, every month they send you that billing statement, they are saying, we want you to contract with us. Otherwise, we're going to hold you to that $83 bill. And until you realize the mutual agreement part, hold harmless, indemnity, the commander shall cause receipts to be given, and the spoliated owner shall attain indemnity. Indemnity, mutual agreement of non-liability, forgiveness. Contracts must contain accountability provisions, provisional law again, specifying, not general, specific, that first tier and downstream entities must comply with Medicare laws. Let's make sure we all comprehend that they are downstream entities. And if you are the natural individual who is superior to all of their entities, then you are not downstream. It is your patient, your person who is considered to be a downstream entity, and therefore you must take equal benefit by stating the detriment if they dishonor that consideration. The first year downstream.
I'm
Say
sorry,
what?
Keith, I'm sorry. Are you saying that if you sent a letter, every time you receive one of these statements, you send a letter with that you're referencing, 50 USC 4305, that they can't do anything?
Exactly.
Wow.
That the MA,
How does that work? I don't understand. I kept reading 50 USC 4305 and I don't understand how that works to pay anything or discharge anything.
50 US code, that's military.
Oh yeah, I know. War and national defense.
Yeah. And all of it is military script.
Yes.
So you have to give them military script back.
This is what Abraham Lincoln tried to do.
Yep. He gave us a way.
I still don't get how this directly relates. I don't mind slapping it on the back. But
what they're doing is
I understand what they're doing, but when I read this, I don't understand how it applies.
It's a recognition. It's a recognition of acquittance to the war. You discharged the war. You're discharging from the war. You're discharging from the you're discharging yourself from the military script.
When we endorse a document by putting this code on here, who is going to perceive what we are saying?
The Treasury. You're directing it directly to the Treasury. And believe you me, they know this.
Okay.
This is Trading with the Enemies Act.
We receive a statement.
Right.
We
a receipt.
Open it. We put it on the back, 50 USC 4305. And instead of sending that back to the provider, we send it to the Treasury.
No, you should be able to send it back to the provider, but I would
Uh-huh.
also send one back, send one to the treasury.
So we make when we open up a statement, we make a photocopy, we put the 5305 on it, and then we
USC
send
4305.
and then we send it to both the provider and the treasury.
That's what I would do. Most people are just sending it back to the provider, and that's generally okay. If you're going to try to do this with the landlord or something, you need a lease agreement and make a qualifying statement if you're going to do it for a year.
You know they don't have those lease agreements for a whole heap of us.
Right. So that's what you have to come up with. Otherwise, there is no record. Nihil deceit. No, he says nothing because there's no such record.
Well, that's why they're begging people, oh, please, dear Lord, pay your rent. Okay, I'm gonna have to look more into this because I don't really get it, but thank you.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm gonna start showing people examples. We're gonna start doing this with our utility bills and stuff.
Yeah, okay,
You do
good.
the same thing with
I
credit
don't
cards.
have any of those, so I'm just here to help other people because I don't even see it. It doesn't even come here.
And that's awesome because that's what we want to get to, where we don't have to do this.
Oh yeah,
you only need to do this if you're still getting those billing statements.
Yes, every time you get a statement.
Self-governed, truly self-governed, like my sister here, there is nobody knocking on your door. Her postmaster is her husband, her companion. That's her postmaster. She's the post marshal, and she tells him go get the post.
Y'all see it every Tuesday when he bring it in.
Yeah.
You are so funny.
Go ahead, go ahead, Lori.
So with the Trading with the Enemy Act, it's very clear that the instrument, the receipt, the bill of lading, that it needs to be handed over to a trustee to do the banking. And this is the part where people get mixed up because they want to do the banking and to send these receipts off, to do the qualified endorsement from the UCC. But really what needs to happen, because a trust won't fail for a lack of a trustee. And because it's constructed and we're the living beneficiaries, that's why this was all put in place, right? That the idea is to tell, and I'm pretty sure it's the Secretary of State as well as the Postmaster General and also probably the President, according to the Trading with the Enemy, that they need to be with the power of appointment. They're the ones like, I don't need to do this. I'm the beneficiary.
Real quick, before we get to the Secretary of State and the President stuff, realize that Postmaster General, that's the seat of government.
Right.
The President, he's the seat of the commercial entity.
Right. Who's a major trustee. He's the one who has all the responsibility. And with the Lieber Code, that proclamation that, what is it, the W8 Ben, the treaty, the peace treaty. So that's saying, hey, look, I come in peace, and here's this instrument and to do the reversionary interest, but also to appoint them. Like, I'm the beneficiary. I don't need to do
realize real quick here, again, that W8 Ben, that's just all this construed language and everything. Read 50 USC 4305 and comprehend it is coinciding with the Lord's Prayer.
I agree with you.
Forgive me my trespasses as I forgive those who trespass against me.
You
make us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Take us from this war and put us in peace.
Yes.
No one is held liable.
Point, Lori. A really good point, because you're right. A lot of people are taking on the job of impersonating Congress and trying to do all the endorsements properly all themselves, and they don't realize that that's what they're doing. They, instead of instructing whoever's job it actually is, I got this in the mail, go ahead and do whatever you guys do. That's what we should be doing, but people are taking on the role themselves.
Well, thank you, Malika. I mean, both you and Keith, you guys helped save my soul and helped me to learn how to comprehend what I was reading. It took a long time to really, because of their fuckery with the fraudulent conveyance of language. For a long time, I actually thought that I had the inability to read and comprehend. But then I realized through you and Keith that the reason why I couldn't comprehend it was because there were so many discrepancies in what they were writing.
Yeah, they say things like attorney is certified in this state to blah, 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 blah. And they don't tell you the definition of in the state is just a federal area, a square, that might be, you know, ceded or owned by them. When they use the word in the state, we're imagining the fictitious border of the state, and we're thinking, well, yeah, well, that's in the state. You know, so that's what they do, like you said, with the fictitious conveyance of language. And then they have definitions that are all over the place. So unless you're like me and Keith, they're just crazy readers of this nonsense, you don't actually start to put the pieces together, which is, of course, why we do these events.
Yeah, and you know, actually, I didn't understand about the conveyance of the office, right? Whenever they're, so the secretary is going to be the department, which is going to be the board. Okay, I didn't realize that that's actually a conveyance of rights and authority that they're passing down. And the way that they use the words, it's like, you know, for people who don't have that critical eye to recognize what's happening with the conveyance of property, the conveyance of right, the conveyance of authority, you know, it's really crazy. Anyway, I just really appreciate you, and I haven't been able to tell you how much I really, like, honestly, thank you, as well as you, Keith. I yield.
Mwah, mwah.
Yes, all glory goes to him. Okay, now let me finish up this here. It says that the first tier and downstream entities. First tier of all contracting, like I said, is the post office. They are the universal, international postal or contracting powers, period. And downstream entities must comply with Medicare laws, regulations, and CMS instructions. Medicare laws are inland marine insurances, and agree to audits and inspection by CMS and or its designees, and to cooperate, assist, and provide information as requested. So if the Postal Service is the first tier, and they must comply with Medicare laws on all downstream entities, then it's the Postal Board Board of Contract Appeals that I'm telling you that we need to go to. Every last one of them. And agrees to audits. That's the audit. Assist, they're the ones to assist. Provide information as requested. It has to be on the Federal Registry. Has to. If it's not there, then it's false representation. That the MA organization oversees and is accountable. Again, it's got to be accountable. If it's not there, it's not accountable. To CMS for any functions and responsibilities described. That the MA organizations that choose to delegate functions must adhere to the delegation requirements, including all provider contract requirements in these delegation requirements. So if they're going to hold somebody harmless, where was it? Then they have to do a financial audit. CMS is required by statute to audit at least 1/3 of MA organizations' financial records each year. Such records include all pertinent financial records, including those describing the patient versus customer versus client versus all of that. Every person in there must be identified and identifiable, and it must be done accurately. And if it's not, then it's a false representation, including data relating to Medicare utilization. It must be practicable utilization. They must be able to practice it. It must be practical utilization. This is their transmitting utility. You're not knowing is their transmitting utility. They are utilizing you to transmit the information that they need. And if you don't do it, they ain't got no data. It makes their financial audits so much easier. It helps them with their Paperwork Reduction Act. Right, Malika? Don't enter that
I'm over
data.
here dying laughing when you say that.
So anyway, I'm going to open it back up to the board. Just remember, folks, Monday night, I'm going to come back with mutual agreements. And that's what it's all about. You have to know there must be a mutual agreement. And in order to know what is mutual, you have to know what those agreements are and whether you are in mutuality with them. So again, hospitals, registration. You're registering as a spell of illness and allowing them to discharge. You're supposed to do the discharge. They charged it, you discharged. Equal and opposing actions.
The thing about it is that they're charging the wrong entity. They're getting the money, and
Yep.
then instead of sending the receipt as to how the money was used, they send another bill to somebody else. Like, wait, you already got paid.
Exactly. Exactly. And then people have been indoctrinated to believe that the check that they use to pay it is a receipt. No, it continues on as a negotiable instrument because you never did the proper qualified endorsement.
On the
Therefore,
back.
you never get a receipt.
Well, again, they're charging the wrong entity,
Well-
and because we think that we don't know our role in it, we say stuff like, I gotta pay my bills.
Yeah, and that's really the real problem is that, you know, whenever someone has an entity that they're like this bankrupt franchise business, whenever they're running it, you know, it can't even do business unless it has a residence, which is in a trust through the road commission. And so really from my research, what's supposed to be happening is it's like, oh, well, okay, well, this isn't my responsibility. I'm not a public official. So I'm going to send it off to the trustee to have them handle it. You guys will work it out because I'm going to give you access into my treasury account.
I told the dentist, I just want everybody to know, our son has braces, and I told them that I didn't want to do anything electronic, so they were sending us a bill. And on the last appointment, I updated the address to be 1500 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest in DC. And they should have gotten at least one bill so far. I have no idea what happened, but he went to get his adjustment yesterday, and his dad went with him, and they didn't say anything about a payment. So I don't know if that means it's working or what.
Yeah.
As soon as I changed the address, I was like, goodbye.
This is what I'm talking about, folks. If you give them the proper notice, it does work through all the channels. The right hand does learn what the left hand's doing. The left hand does learn what the right hand's doing. And they're both going, shame on you. Shame on you.
Yeah. Well, that's why I put the change of address on in the chat, because it's a really big deal when it's like, okay, well, look, you know, I'm retiring because I'm not the trustee. And so since it is at the location of the debtor, right? That's
right.
Organization.
What is it? UCC 11-109 or like
9-3, the location of the debtor.
9-307.
Yeah, the location of the debtor.
And so here's the thing: it's like, hey, look, I'm actually not the debtor. You guys are the debtor. And what's interesting is that there's two faces, right? So there's the public, which is the one that, you know, deals with securities, which are basically hypothecated pieces of paper that's ran by the UCC. But then what they do is, right, isn't it the par value and the face value? Well, they're these third-party interveners. What they do is they put themselves in the middle.
The power of attorney. The attorneys. They're like the
power of attorney.
They do the credit default swaps. Oh, when it's time for the credit, I'm standing in for you. When it's time for the debt, I swap you out with me so you can take that on.
Yeah, and they did that in the beginning from the post office. Right. I loved you guys for that study about the canal zone. That shit changed my life. The Foundling Hospital for you. And so the whole thing is, because it's considered military foreign zone, when they send it through the post office, no one ever got that green card because the hospital abrogated. They stood in the way right there.
But you don't want the green card. You don't want anything. That's evidence. If there's no evidence, they have to make a new accusation and give the supporting documentation to prove it.
Well, I mean, I think it's good to have the evidence, and let me tell you why. Because here's the thing: what they're going to claim that is a canal zone. Prove it. Proof of claim. If they're the ones making the claim, they're the ones onus probandi, right? They're the ones who have to prove it.
That's just even farther beyond it. Again, it doesn't have that tax or revenue stamp on it, so it doesn't matter whether it came from a canal or a piece of land or anything.